Hello and welcome to Shiaght Laa. I'm Fiona McArdle. As sé Fiona McArdle mish, as bevali am golta cashew gus a clare Shiaght Laa. Ellen ons Manannan, Art in the House of Manannan, an exhibition of the work of David Fletcher. Serland Forgelet, an open studio with a new collection launch plus artworks on display in the Artreach Studio in Peel. As Learn Forgelet and Artreach and Heritage Open Days, this weekend and next, a reminder to check through a wide range of opportunities. Although Manx Litfest 2022 came to an end last Sunday, there's still the opportunity to follow the Isle of Man Poetry Society's Poetry Trail, with its 20 poems on bright yellow posters at a variety of locations in Ramsey, Douglas and Port Erin this year. The Poetry Trail continues until the 28th of October. This is a poem by Howard Kane, which you can read in Spill the Beans in Douglas.
Too much choice. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Just where should this short poem go? And how on earth does one decide? Just flip a coin and see which side? Or put the words into a roller, shake them out like a tombola, leave the shape to fate and hope, a lexicon kaleidoscope? Or dip, 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 and my blue ship, which sails on lines which weave and whip into a froth of verbal foam before they wander off and roam both far and wide and long and short. But then the poem comes to naught. Or 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. Is this the way to make up your favourite ode or snappy ditty, hot pot words or chipper-witty? There's too much choice. I don't know how. I've no more words. So I'll stop now.
And this by Annie Kissack, and can be seen in the Bridge Bookshop in Port Erin.
Breaking the weather. We were lulled into summer, left coats to slump in stairwells, slipped out serene in sun cream, and all was good. Until, for 3 nights, a sideways wind crept down and shook the borders loose. The summer, was that it? Sycamore leaves lie solitary on a chastened lawn. They've gone brown too soon, folded in on themselves like the leather gardening gloves we found below that bush last week. Worn gloves, shaped to the hard hands of old men whose fingers sifted soil and weather. How they would have grasped these fine days and held on to them. But you can't do that. You just can't.
Howard Kane and Annie Kissack with 2 poems from the Isle of Man Poetry Society's 2022 Poetry Trail, which you can follow now until the 28th of October. Dinsi David Fletcher ec Collège Riol Ellen as hure came ons Neate jeg jayas tree feed. Vosh Neate jeg shach jegas tree feed, Vena lidjelach je koersen Ellen as coma, ec Collège Ellen vannen mervi ons nelein shen. Ba shennen stata egge rish onvlein as feed, treve govracha merish norman sail, as vad grenicha askinsicha Ellen eren egge. Vena Ellen de maier enjan yes, chos ne aundren, as tanna jolloen egge ons gilemen teach as privejach. Va David Fletcher na olta je kun sail Ellen en vannen, as na christjelach je erach da junach vannen, yes. Lug chinga sliauer, hura bes, ons tylius noble, ons feed keed as hocht. An exhibition of the paintings of artist and art educator, the late David Fletcher, curated by Manx National Heritage and David's wife, Eileen Share, is now on at the House of Manannan in Peel, and will run there through to the 26th of February. It was officially opened last Sunday afternoon by David Martin and musician Charles Gard, MBE.
As Vice Chairman of the Manx Museum and National Trust, and as someone who knew the artist, it's my pleasure and privilege on behalf of the trustees and staff of Manx National Heritage and our co-curator, Eileen, to welcome you today to the opening of this exhibition, Paintings, which celebrates David Fletcher's work. I first met him not long after I moved back to the island from Liverpool in the late 1980s. It was clear from the moment you met him, he was passionate. In fact, probably driven would be a better description. Those who teach, of course, educate, passing on facts and techniques, but good ones also open students' eyes, set examples and inspire. And Dave did all that in spades and much more. Apart from his teaching, there's another aspect, though, which is quite hard to capture in an exhibition, and that's the way that Dave Fletcher's passion reached far beyond his students and those who actually saw his work. I guess nowadays it's what we would probably term outreach. In the early 1980s, he was a founding member of Arts in Man and is credited with the idea behind the travelling gallery bus, which toured the island for a number of years. He served on the Isle of Man Arts Council for nearly 10 years, during which time he initiated the loan collection, from which are loaned out island-wide to public and government buildings, from schools to the hospital and the prison. Ripples in the pond, spreading his influence. MNH is a charity whose mission statement is, forgive me for quoting, to take a lead in protecting, conserving, making available and celebrating the island's natural and cultural heritage for current and future generations. To many that's seen as, say, the castles or Laxey Wheel or the Calf, but MNH is also custodian of the National Art Collection, which Dave Fletcher helped develop and championing contemporary art, especially during his service as an MNH trustee in the mid-1990s. And the gallery here at the House of Manannan has helped with that, hosting exhibitions like this and work by the likes of the Creative Network. We're very grateful to those who have loaned work for this exhibition, but we're especially grateful to Eileen, who's assisted in so many ways. Thank you. Dave Fletcher was not just a painter, but one with passion, persistence and vision. And Charles will now tell us a little more of Dave's work.
Dave was an extremely well-known figure in the art world here on the Isle of Man and was, as the other Dave has said, extraordinarily energetic and committed to the many projects that he was involved in, many of which he initiated himself. I had the pleasure of knowing Dave and of working with him on the Isle of Man Arts Council for a short period. It was a pleasure to work with Dave, though, who was always brimming with ideas and enthusiasm, and we can look back now and see the tangible results of what he achieved. He had a firm belief in the value of painting to the community, and much of the work he did outside of his teaching was directed at making art more accessible. He was born in Liverpool in 1948 and eventually ended up at the Warrington School of Art, the Liverpool College of Art, and finally the prestigious Royal College of Art in London, from where he got his MA. He went on to teaching, and in 1975 he applied for a job here on the island, though at the time he hadn't realised that in fact his great-grandfather was a Manxman, a Taggart from Maloo. Dave spent a year teaching at Ballacameen and then moved on to the Isle of Man College, where he was course leader for the Art and Design Foundation course, and he stayed there for 21 years. It was his energy that I remember. Teaching full-time is exhausting enough, but he still had the energy to be continuously creative, coming up with ideas, not just talking about them, but getting on and doing them. He was, as we heard, a founder member and a trustee of Arts in Man, a group of resident artists who contributed to the encouragement of art in the island. He spent 8 years as a member of the Isle of Man Arts Council, and this is where he really made things happen. He was the visual arts representative on the council, and one of his lasting legacies was the establishment of the Arts Council Loan Scheme. And he was the scheme's curator, and with the influential support of Arts Council colleague Sir David Wilson, Dave and his wife Eileen scoured the UK and beyond to bring together prints, paintings and photographs to create a collection which was loaned out to local schools, to libraries, hospitals, the prison and other public buildings. The more than 300 works include pieces by Anthony Gormley, Damien Hirst, Picasso, Elizabeth Frink and David Hockney, as well as Manx artists such as Brian Neal, Michael Sandel and Chris Killip. He was always trying to get the art out to the people, and to this end, he came up with the brilliant idea of a travelling art gallery, and an Isle of Man transport double-decker was bought for £400 and converted into a gallery which would turn up at festivals and visit the island's towns with a continuous display of art inside it. Of course, what was really needed was a permanent contemporary art space. Being considered amongst others was the vast area above the Strand shopping centre. It was even considered that the public lavatories on either side of the Villa Marina arcade might be converted into an art space. Eventually, though, the Courtyard Gallery was established, which morphed eventually into the Sale Gallery in Douglas, of which Dave was patron. As Sue Woolley has pointed out in her excellent summary of Dave's life and work, which is part of the digital new Manx Worthies, which will be going up on Culture Vannon's website, Dave had considerable recognition as an artist in his own right. He exhibited twice in the National Portrait Gallery Portrait Awards and was a prize winner there in 1983. He won the Standard Offshore Bank competition in 2002 and was overall winner of the Singer and Friedlander competition in 2003. One of his larger works, Man Resting with His Prejudices, was accepted for the John Moores exhibition in Liverpool and was subsequently purchased by Sir John Moores himself. He has paintings in the Public Catalogue Foundation collection, which is created in partnership with the BBC Online, and of course many of his paintings are held in public and private collections. Dave was very much into spirituality, and he had a long life interest in Eastern philosophy, meditation, poetry and art, and that's still evident today if you go to Eileen's house and see their book collection. Now, art is a very personal thing, and its appreciation and interpretation is also very personal. And I have in fact been warned off trying to analyse Dave's work by his wife and fellow artist Eileen, who quite rightly said that we will all make our own individual assessments of it. However, I will give you some thoughts from a great friend and colleague of Dave's, someone whom he respected and who had great respect for him, Norman Sale. They taught together, they exhibited together, and to finish, I'll just quote what Norman had to say about Dave. His approach to his art is absolutely uncompromising. He will not be diverted from his vision by considerations of popularity, accessibility, status, or commercial gain. This vision is intensely personal and idiosyncratic. I can't readily think of any label which could describe David Fletcher's work. The nearest I can manage is psychological and mystical. It is an exceptionally complicated creative process. And with those thoughts, I am delighted to declare this much anticipated exhibition open.
There we heard David Martin and musician Charles Gard, the official opening of the exhibition of the paintings of David Fletcher last Sunday at the House of Manannan in Peel. By David Fletcher and Insida Ellen, Hamas na Ellen as Rene Kuna leis crew and course, vec college Ellen Vannan de Rau, te vleche nish, mar course came ag college Oluscol Ellen Vannan. Bol elle san Ellen, ta cean on de shilochen say, Hamas de slyeset, de hit de vei Artreach Ellen. Red ta strai de churlanen regethen, carne blina ag serlanen Artreach, ons burre William, ons pertne hinge. Ta na serlanen Artreach, de bol ta goil arn ons jibenes de Ellen Aaron, red ta tashpina as crek na nobber. Hamas cur cain de sly je ulju shiloch arne goil ons ober Ellen. Artreach Studios in Mill Road, Peel, provides a studio and working space for mixed media artists Colette Gamble and Kate Jerry for their ceramic Shiaght Studio.
We're here in the Artreach Studios in Mill Road in Peel. Okay, Jerry, this is a great focus for a lot of work, a lot of initiatives in art, but there's going to be a particular showcase of something coming up this weekend.
We have a studio opening event on the 2nd of October, Sunday, and between 2 and 5 o'clock we are opening up the showroom. The gallery, other areas of the gallery will also be open, but it's primarily sort of launching new collections. We have 3 different operations here. One of them is Artreach Studios, where we have the workshops. We have AOC, which is the ceramic element of the business, and we also have the gallery Isle Contemporary, which is the not-for-profit.
And it's going to be a showcase particularly of the Shiaght aspect of your work.
So that is the business name, or that we fall under as a collaborative. Myself and Colette Gamble make the work together. When we first started working together, we actually had a studio out in Pinewood, and at the time it was sort of a really lovely escape from the other elements of what we do, and it was just our little kind of private space, and it fell in very well really with the description for AOC. Basically, it's a supernatural place, and it has Celtic origins, so Scotland, Ireland, and the Isle of Man, and it basically means it's a supernatural place which is hard to get to. So you have to climb over mountains, through rivers, and so it's kind of when you actually get there. It's this sort of fairy land, if you like, supernatural, yeah. So it kind of fitted in with that element of it was the place to escape to, and you create magic in that studio.
And you're doing that, in fact, in a way, with part of the landscape and forming it into something different.
So there is something that's, when you work with clay in particular, there's something very close, because you're actually transforming the earth into something usable, or not necessarily usable, but non-functional as well.
The open day will be an opportunity for people to see the range of work in the Shiaght, and also to buy some of it.
We do have so we obviously have our older collection. So what we basically have is we have updates on our popular collections, and we have new collection launch, one of them. We have another one that's closer to Christmas, and definitely everything will be for sale. Pretty much everything. Sometimes you feel like holding things back, but...
After you've been working on them and something that's given you particular pleasure, where do you get your clay from?
We do get it from the UK. I have collected it from locally, but we tend to fire up to stoneware. You have to go very, very deep to dig that kind of clay up. But the Manx clay is absolutely stunning, but it does fire to earthenware, so slightly lower temperatures. I have got some pieces, and I have some other things that are sort of... Yeah, it's taking a bit of time because we have to process all of that clay, get all the lumpy stones out and things that might go pop in the kiln.
Kate Jerry of the Shiaght Studio at the Artreach Studios in Mill Road, Peel. Shiaght will be holding an open studio this Sunday between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Rys ciwst y blintyn, erych, ta erach da siwnach fanen nofracha merish persunen lieg, as merish komanen. Car forsla lerian heen, as straele da caen da slai, ta giri fellen mach na smoo, ma caunen ellen as a heracht. Ta sé tachatan as died a rola melina. There's a whole series of Heritage Open Days, which go to make up the largest heritage event in the island's calendar. And you can hear a little about the Heritage Open Days from Kirsty Neate, Head of Professional Services at Manx National Heritage.
I work for Manx National Heritage, and we basically coordinate with the community a number of events which enable our public to go behind the scenes, to meet volunteers, to meet people with a particular passion for history, to get into spaces and places that perhaps they wouldn't normally be able to get to. Manx National Heritage act as a sort of conduit for all these fantastic activities. We pull the programme together with our heritage partners out there in the community, and a lot of the admin stuff goes on behind the scenes at Manx National Heritage. I think this is the 12th year that the festival has run, and the enthusiasm is as large as ever. So each year we try and think of different things for people to do, and we're always really open to suggestions, because we don't have all the answers here, so it's quite nice working with lots of different partners out there in the community to come up with new ideas to keep the programme fresh, but to appeal to a diverse audience as well. If you look at the programme, there are some fantastic tours. Our archaeologist is doing a great tour up in the north about Viking burials. We do include the sort of traditional tours and guides as well, but heritage can be something that happened yesterday. It's just about revealing what's on your doorstep and rediscovering that place that you live in, and rediscovering your passion for the place that you live in. A lot of the people that we're working with are volunteers, and it's important to them to know about the places that they live in. And I think, inside us all, we do have a sort of hunger and a passion to know where we've come from or how the place that we live in has evolved. And I think sometimes, actually, it's quite a relief to escape the sort of serious things in life and have that extra layer of inspiration by going for a walk in a glen with an expert pointing out, mushrooms and trees and things, the simple things in life which surround us. And I actually think that's as important to sort of make your life richer in a way. I'm going on the Culture folklore tour of, I think it's in Lezayre this year. And although, I've read a lot about folklore in my role here at the Manx Museum, I am really looking forward to someone else guiding me and telling me things, new things, and exploring new places. And it's just a little bit of refresh, restart, recharge before those winter months come in. Just looking at the programme, I think we've got over 80 events all across the island, from north to south, east to west. There's such a variety, and there's so much knowledge out there as well. And I just really challenge people not to be inspired by Heritage Open Days, and also to sort of maybe be surprised. There is just so much variety. There must be something for everybody out there. So as well as organisations like Culture Manannan or businesses like Finodri, there are those really wonderful individuals who are giving up their time to share their stories. If you're internet savvy, you just need to go to the manxnationalheritage.im website and click on the What's On tab, and then that will take you to the Heritage Open Days programme. If you're not able to get onto the internet, then you can phone our helpline, and the helpline is 648 091. We actually do have a number of drop-in activities as well, where you don't need to book. So there's about 6 or 7 different drop-in exhibitions around the island. We've got an open day at Derby Transport Museum. We've got not just Jam in Jerusalem, which is a WI exhibition down with the Russian Heritage Trust, Molly Caroon's Cottage in Onken. The wonderful archives public record office is open, so you can go there and see behind the scenes. That's a good drop-in option too. Meet the Trammers down on Douglas Prom, and also the Manx Transport Heritage Museum in Peel have a drop-in sessions.
Kirsty Neate, Head of Professional Services at Manx National Heritage. Shiaght Laa Shiaght Laa and Hirsho. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Shiaght Laa. Now, from me, Nish Fiona McArdle, Sled and you.